From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up? It's Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan Hujavandi, alongside Corey Clark, senior writer for Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. If you're not a member of the club, join. It's really easy. Use the promo code Warchant30. That'll get you 30 free days. Feel it out. See how you like it. Kick your legs up. Relax. Enjoy it. Maybe snack on some Zaxby's while you're at it. Maybe a Big Zax snack. Maybe I'll do Big Zax snack today. I don't know. I got to get out there. But anyhow, Corey's here, everybody. Let's give it up for him. What up, Corey? How are you, buddy?
What's up, buddy? How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, man. Actually, wait, today's this is actually dropping on the 10th, so I can maybe take the shackles, the self-imposed gag order I have on myself to really talk about how I'm feeling, but I'm not going to overload us with all that nonsense. I'm doing all right, Corey. But now, and I was listening to my guy Ryan Russillo on the Bill Simmons podcast, and they were talking about, obviously, some people aren't holding up as well as others in the midst of this pandemic. Like, on a more lighter note, obviously the health of our citizens, of our country, of this world is obviously a more important thing, I think, than people getting restless at home. But they were saying, like, if this really hasn't shaken up your day-to-day or the way you feel, you need to maybe reassess what you're doing in life. And I felt personally attacked because I'm holding up all right. Like, don't get me wrong. It's weird turning on the TV every morning and there's like a game from 1975 on my television and there's not a soundbite from a post-game news conference with a basketball player or Leonard Hamilton, wearing the net around his neck and talking about, told y'all I had this thing figured out. But I'm doing okay, and I kind of feel like maybe I shouldn't admit I'm doing okay. Maybe I should admit that, like, yeah, this is horrible. Let's get out of the house, everybody. Let's start the revolution now. But I'm all right. That's a long answer. I hope you're doing better, though.
Well, I think the different, you and I don't have offices we go to. Right. So the thing that we're really missing right now is spring football. That's the thing that we'd be going to, but that's a couple hours a day, early in the morning that's kind of the only difference for us professionally, you know what I mean? And we're not doing this every day. We're doing it every other day. But to me, it's just the, I miss hanging out with my friends. I miss going to lunch. I miss eating Mexican food.
You love going. Yeah, you're a big lunch guy. You're big lunch guy.
And I'm a big movie. I go to the movies a lot. So yeah, all that stuff, man. It's just weighing on me, and I miss watching my son play baseball. Yeah. I wouldn't, I know Brady probably would be shocked to hear that. As much as I give him grief for not doing what he's supposed to do when he's out there, but like I would give anything to watch him strike out. Like, he strike out looking. I didn't really ever get mad at him when he struck out swinging, but when he struck out looking, that would bother me. But I would give anything to see that again. Like, I wonder if that's going to change how we all are about just the things that don't matter. They're just little dumb things. Hopefully it makes for a lot better sports parents because we all miss it. We all realize, I think, as much grief as we might give our kids, how much we really miss seeing it. Because, yeah, man, it's been a month since I've seen him play baseball.
Yeah. No, I think that's this whole like we're gonna come out of this and we're gonna appreciate each other so much more and we're gonna appreciate the value of our health, and it's like, yeah, okay, I don't know. We don't want to set the over under on there, buddy. 8.5 days. I'll take the under.
Probably, but that's better than 0. Yeah. But I was gonna say, did you see our man Dr. Fauci, what he came out with on Thursday and said that he thinks that handshaking should be done forever?
I did, man. I did. That just you must have been smiling. You must have been grinning like a mule eating briars after you heard that one, Corey.
His quote is, he doesn't think we should shake hands ever again, because not only is it smart just to avoid what we got going on now, but also the flu for the rest of our lives. It's crazy that we've been doing it for so long. So sorry, guys, if y'all see me out and about, obviously don't make eye contact with me. Don't come up to me while I'm having a meal. Be respectful. You know how it is, Aslan, when we're out.
Right. Yeah. Start treatment.
But if you get a free moment, you can come up and, like, from a safe distance, say, "Hey, man, I enjoy your work. and I'll go, okay, but don't reach out your hand because it's not happening. We can do an elbow bump. We can do maybe a fist bump if I'm feeling froggy, but more often than not, it's just going to be pistols. I'm going to give you a little pistol, like a bang, bang, shoot, shoot kind of guy. Like, hey, good to see you, Chief. Or
like a Mike Gundy pistols up.
Yeah, Mike Gundy. What a week he's at, huh? Good grief.
May 1st, get back to work, y'all. Come on, man. This economy ain't going to get back up on its feet in Oklahoma without y'all playing some ball. Let's go.
Here's the thing. He said it out loud. What he said isn't incorrect. I mean, college football is a huge moneymaker in that state. It's a huge moneymaker for all these schools. In all these schools, that's the thing is all these schools need their college football. What Absolutely. He said wasn't crazy in that regard. It's all the other stuff he said, which was just really concerning. But that's what happens is Gundy says something like that. And then everybody on Twitter, all the know-it-all sports journalists jump on him for being an idiot, and which he is. But they conflate two things. They think that anybody that wants to start college football or admits how important college football is a Neanderthal that doesn't understand the safety precautions we need to take in this country. And there's gray, man. There's gray area. Same thing with Dabo. Dabo says dumb stuff too, but he knows how important college football is, and he wants to be an optimist. Now they're being optimists in unintelligent ways right now, in my opinion. But still, they're being optimists instead of the pessimists that are like, we're not going to have a college football season. There's no way you can have college football if kids aren't on campus. Nonsense. What? Why? Why could I look? That's not ideal. But of course you could have a college football season even if kids aren't allowed back on campus in August. Because I tell you what, the science major isn't bringing in $60 million. So there's a pragmatism here, and there's a reality to this situation that people have to understand that want to comment on all these coaches saying what they're saying is you have to have college football. For what's the alternative? You just want to be, okay, well, there's no students on campus, so you can't have college football. Okay, well, then those students won't ever be able to go to this school again because it might shut down. That's a reality for a lot of, well, not a lot, but a percentage of schools out there. So anyway, that's what's been bothering me on Twitter. I know that's what people wanted to know is that, and the MLB got all that grief for their plan, which was did you see that, Aslan, the MLB plan for starting the season?
The most ambitious plan since, I don't know, space, maybe?
Right. So, but did it remind you of my NBA playoffs plan?
Well, yeah, it's the creating the bubble thing. It's what they try to do in China for the CBA and their basketball, and they're like, actually, we can't do that. I mean, they're not even they don't even want to sit in the dugout, Corey. They're going to sit in the empty stands 6 feet apart from each other. There's not even going to be any umpires out there. There's going to be a robo umpire, which I'm all for the robot uprising of the umpires. But I just don't.
So the baseball plan, again, you see it's 30 teams, and it's at least it's like 50 people per team that would have to be out there, 40 at least. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about 1,200 people all over the state of Arizona. And again, if you have testing and everybody gets tested, plus it's baseball, you're not breathing on anyone in baseball.
Spitting a lot, though.
Yeah, but you're not spitting on people, hopefully.
Yeah, but droplets,
so
buddy.
If everybody tests negative, then play the season. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, multimillionaires. You have to be quarantined. It's a bummer. I got it. You might not even be able to see your family. I got it. That is a bummer. I'm not dismissing that or diminishing that. But they have FaceTime. And sometimes you make sacrifices for the good of the country. And I know that sounds like Uncle Sam nonsense. But in June, I will give almost anything to watch a pro baseball game in an empty stadium. And I think that goes for a lot of the country. We'll just need something. And you can make that sacrifice. You're not sacrificing your health, especially if you're getting tested on the regular. But you might have to sacrifice not seeing your family for 3 or 4 months. Meanwhile, we have thousands upon thousands of 19-year-olds overseas who have done that for a full year. You could do this for 3 months for the good of for the psyche of the country, in my opinion, especially with the amount of money you're making, because you don't get that. You might not get you're not going to get all that money if you don't. They're baseball players, man. They're gone for 3 months of the season anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're on road trips for 80 games. That's literally 3 months of their life, and they're not taking their kids to the Milwaukee series.
Right.
So it's not that big an ask. Plus, all the kids from the Dominican and Venezuela and Puerto Rico, they're gone from a lot of them are gone from their families for a year or 9 months,
Right.
so they can go make money. And so I hate, it's always such a negative backlash. As soon as that plan came out, and obviously some of it is far-fetched, and it seems preposterous, and maybe it is. Maybe it's just not doable. But at least they're trying something, man. At least they're trying, they're thinking outside the box and trying to come up with a scenario where they can play. And almost everybody on Twitter, and again, I need to stop caring about Twitter, jumps at it and says, "Oh, this is ridiculous. This will never work. Might as well play on the moon." And it's like, how about y'all just understand that people have to make sacrifices? And if you have to play with all the players sitting 6 feet apart in the stands instead of in the dugout, then okay. What was Jimbo's quote yesterday? It was actually a good one.
I didn't know.
Did you see that?
I didn't realize he was talking. Can we pause the
It
show?
was like
Can I go back and listen to it?
he said something about we might have to do some unprecedented things, but these are unprecedented times.
Man,
And
my guy.
Absolutely.
Look at that, man. Point me in the direction of the wall. Point me in the direction of the wall, Jimbo. I'll run through it.
Right. Well, we know that. So that's what I saw that plan, which kind of was like my NBA plan. It's just harder because, again, it's longer. Again, that NBA plan that I had for the playoffs where everybody's in the same hotel and they're playing at 2 arenas is, that the people, it'll start out as 500 people. After 2 weeks, it'll be 250 people. And that, you're talking about much less people, and it's a shorter amount of time than a baseball season that's 3 or 4 months. But yeah, man, as long as you have testing, and if one of the players tests positive, you test everybody on their team. If none of those have tested positive, well, sorry, man, you're on the IR, you go home, or you go quarantine yourself if you want to play in 2 weeks. Whatever case. But you can't just say we're going to wait till we can do it absolutely like it's always been, because then there's not going to be a baseball season. And I can promise you, if you're going to wait until everything is back to normal in this country, you're not to play college football. You're not going to have a college football season either. So what do? Do you just sit there and say, "Oh, well, that's too bad," or do you try to think outside the box and come up with a scenario where you can get this thing done? And at least Major League Baseball is trying that. NBA, as far as I can tell, has just come up with a horse competition. But at least the MLB tried something. And college football is going to have to think outside the box, and they're going to have to think really creatively to try to get this thing done. And I think all of it resides on tests. Because obviously you can't not know if people have this when they're playing against each other. But if you test people and they're all negative, then let them play, even if nobody's in the stands. By the way, did you see on the MLB proposal that they would have the players mic'd up too?
No, I did not.
How that would be. You got robo umpires. You got players mic'd up during the game. Man, I think it'd be cool.
Yeah. It's a plan. It's yeah, I don't think and I haven't seen any pushback from players like, "I'm going to miss my family. Don't take me away from my family."
That was funny. I was actually listening to a podcast where Eric O'Flaherty, who used to pitch for the Braves, who's now doing a podcast with one of the Braves beat writers. They had Luke Jackson, who's a member of the Braves, on the podcast, and they were talking about this whole scenario. And Luke Jackson was like, "Yeah, man, I don't know that a lot of guys would maybe they don't want to be away from their kids and their wife for 3 months at a time." And Eric O'Flaherty's like, "Hey, man, I've been locked down with my wife and kids for the last 3 weeks. Sign me up now. I'll go anywhere." So I think that's kind of these baseball players, man, they're not used to being around the kids all the time. I heard Chris Paul on another podcast talking about that. Like, he's not used to being around, and he's having to teach. So he's not used to being around his kids all the time. He said it was really hard. I can promise you, I'm not saying those guys don't love their kids and their family and want to take them and don't love spending time with them, but they're also athletes that aren't used to spending 24/7 in that house. And I'm sure they would jump at the opportunity to be gone for a month. Some of them.
2 quick things. The handshake thing is wild to me.
Love it.
It makes my life easier for when I go and meet girls for the first time, because it's this, like, I don't really like to have any physical contact until it's time to hit the batting cages. And, it's like you meet each other and it's like they put their hand out. I'm like, what is this? Is this a business transaction? Like, did I just buy your house? Did I sell you my house? Why are you shaking my hand?
What do you do then? How do you say hello?
It's like, hey, what's up? Just give them a little nod. Put your hand out kind of like, after you. Let me push the door open and let you in this place. Or here's your seat. Be seated.
Okay.
You
ever take their hand and kiss it?
No, never done that. Never done that.
Oh, that would be, I guess that's off limits now too.
Yeah. So, I guess I'm all right with that. But, I hug all my friends when I see them. So I'm probably still going to hug them. But anywho. And then I think that I should probably find George S. Patton's speech to the troops before they storm Normandy. And I'll just splice in what you said and play it for Major League Baseball players. So, like, instead of storm the beaches of Normandy, like, I need you to storm Scottsdale.
I think it was Eisenhower that gave the speech before Normandy.
Okay. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. It's,
Sorry, I'm sure there's, and I might be 100% wrong too, so I'm going to look that up while you talk, but I'm sure we have some history buffs that are like, come on, guys, it wasn't Eisenhower, it wasn't Patton.
They're a different breed, like big-time history buffs. Like the guys that are listening to this are like, you guys are so wrong about that. Like they get more upset. They have a different level, different brand of upset they get when people err than, say, if I was like, oh, yeah, 1995 when Danny Cannell led Florida State back in the choke at Doak. Like, what are you talking about? It's 1994, you idiot. You're on a Florida State podcast. You know what you're talking about? Hey, man, relax. With that said, what were your thoughts on that? That was a pretty cool thing, I thought. Well, the exercise, you and Gene talking, well, not walking, but talking, with Danny Cannell about the 1994 game, which you don't like being called the choke at Doak, apparently.
I just feel like it always gave too much credit for the Gator. I mean, it always put too much of the emphasis on the Gators choking and not the great comeback. Like the comeback at Doak, it obviously doesn't have the same ring as the choke at Doak. And it's also making fun. I think if it had been against anybody else, you'd want it to be like the comeback at Doak or whatever you'd want to call it. That's a really bad title, but you know what I mean? But against the Gators, not only does everybody know what you mean right away, but it's also poking fun at them. I just always thought it was more about what Florida didn't do, holding on to that lead, as opposed to Florida State storming back. Well, golly, now I can't find it. Wasn't
the game more about them blowing it, though, than some sort of heroic comeback by Florida State? Like, Florida shot themselves in the foot over and over and over again.
Well, see, they didn't, though, other than on defense. They only had one turnover. It's not like they kept I brought it up, and I think it was that same year. It was Terry Bowden was the coach at Auburn, and LSU had like a 3-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter against Auburn and kept throwing interceptions, like literally gave the game to Auburn. That's back when LSU wasn't any good and Bowden couldn't lose. I think he still was like 20-0 there or something. But this was Florida State doing it. It wasn't all the drives were long drives. It's not like even the interception they got the ball at their 40, so they still had to go 60 yards. And it wasn't like Florida just kept making all these huge mistakes. They just couldn't get first down. So I guess if you count it as that. So yeah, I was right. That was bothering me. It was Eisenhower giving the D-Day speech.
Okay.
It's a really good one though. Yeah. I have full confidence in your devotion to duty and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking. Okay, now obviously...
And we can't sit at home for 45 days. Let's get to the questions. First one, Corey, Random John. Good morning, gentlemen. I frequent the boards. I think he actually did answer the question. I frequent as much as I can. I come here because it gives me a sense of normalcy. Man, this normalcy thing, I love normalcy. Should that be like our... What was the band name that you came up with the other day, Corey? They like, that'd be a good band name. It's some sort of term that we're using now in the midst of this pandemic.
It wasn't social distance, was it? Social distance.
Yeah, it's like social distancing or something like that, I think was it.
That's what I thought, but that doesn't have the ring to it that I thought it did. I can't remember.
All right, well, anywho. Normalcy can be the name of the EP that we release.
Sure.
His question, Random John. If a player tests positive in the fall while the NCAA shut things down the way they did for the tournament, or will they shut things down the way they did for the tournament? If so, how do you feel the sports landscape will change in the future, i.e. schools mandating fewer season ticket sales? Well, that's not going to happen. Recruiting only allowed to be regionalized to keep possible spreading to a minimum, or simply because they won't be able to afford the travel? I don't know. A possible minor league for the NFL being created. new liability insurance to protect schools from endangering fans. That one probably, I would think. Man, that's scary. I never thought about that, huh? Like, what if the NCAA, what if all their hoity-toity presidents of all these member institutions are like, hey, I'm not rolling any balls back out there until I know that it's safe for most everybody. And then the NFL is like, well, we can't wait to develop talent. We can't wait for you folks to drag your feet on this. We're going to start our own feeder program. That'd be scary. That sounds very unlikely, though. If a player tests positive in the fall, NCAA's not, I don't think they'll know. They won't shut things down. I wouldn't think so. No way. And if that's the plan, if that's a litmus test or whatever, then man, we're going to maybe get 3 games in, because 85 kids on scholarship, 132 whatever Division I schools there are, someone's going to have it.
Yeah, I think. Again, this is going to sound callous, and I don't mean it to, because we're in April.
You want to pause for a second because Bill O'Reilly was like, I don't want to sound rude, and then he said something, and then everybody got a little bit upset about it.
It's not that. It's just that I think it's not going to be back to normal anytime soon. So if a kid tests positive in September, number one, all this is dependent on testing. So we're assuming somebody that you have a lot of access to tests,
robust testing capabilities.
So if a kid tests positive or shows symptoms, you test everybody on the team. Whoever has it, you quarantine them for 2 weeks, and you keep playing. It's like you have to treat it like the flu. You can't. Like, the NBA made the right decision because we were on the brink of something. And nobody knew. Nobody was social distancing. They had people at that game where Rudy Gobert tested. Tens of thousands of people. The ACC was playing that night with people in the stands. The whole country was different in 4 weeks ago than it will be 4 months from now. But 4 months from now, if somebody tests positive, I don't think you have to shut everything down.
Right.
You just don't. We'll be in a better place testing-wise. We'll be in a better place societal-wise to understand, okay, well, that person can't be around anybody else. He certainly can't go visit nursing homes. He needs to be quarantined for 2 weeks. And we're going to treat him like if he had the flu or another injury, and he doesn't get to play. If he's infected anybody else, they don't get to play. And whoever we played last week, if that kid played at all, test them too. But other than that, go on with football. I think people are worried about what happened in the NBA happening the next time anybody tests positive in the fall, if somebody tests positive. Okay. Well, again, just think about the country 6 months later. We'll be in a completely different spot than we were in whatever that was, March 7th or
11th.
8th.
I think it was the 11th.
Was it when Gobert tested positive?
I think 11th is when they suspended the season.
Yeah. So we'll be in a completely different spot on September 12th than we were on March 12th, as far as the way we can handle this thing, the testing that'll be available,
absolutely,
and how seriously we take this. And so keep him in a locked room with armed guards if you have to. He doesn't get to go anywhere, but the season goes on. I don't know how else to do it. You can't. Because, look, it's college football. There are literally tens of thousands of people playing college football. If one of them tests positive, you can't shut down the conference.
Right.
You just can't. So you have to treat it like a really, really, really bad flu and say, they didn't cancel the Sugar Bowl when Warwick Dunn had the flu. If they had, Florida State would have won that national championship too. So we will be to the point then, I think, in another 2 months, 3 months, 3 months, 5 months, where it won't be everything comes grinding to a halt if somebody tests positive. They will have avenues in place to keep him safe, to keep his teammates safe. The ones that have it or have contracted it, they go and they're quarantined for 2 weeks, but everybody else continues to play. That would be my thought. Otherwise, if you're going to shut it down, if somebody tests positive for it, man, don't even start it up. Because don't they say that it'll still be around?
Yeah,
in
it's not
September
going,
and
yeah,
October and
yeah.
November?
Yeah, it's going to be part of yeah, it's not leaving, man. It's not the British invasion. It's not the Beatles. They're not going away.
So yeah, you have to have parameters in place for when it does happen. This is what we do. But if you're going to shut it down, if you're going to do the Gobert thing, which again the NBA was completely right in doing, look how much this thing is spread. That was 4 weeks ago, people. Think about that. That was 4 weeks ago that everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, they just canceled the NBA season. They just suspended the season for one guy testing positive." Well, now we have 15,000 dead in this country 4 weeks later. So they were right to do it then. My whole thinking is 5 months from now, we'll be on the other side of the curve. God willing, we'll be on the other side of the curve,
Yeah, we
deep
will.
down on the other side of the curve.
We will.
And we'll have testing more readily available. Our hospitals won't be threatened to be overwhelmed. And you can somewhat try to get back to life. And if somebody tests positive, you react accordingly.
There's a really good story from the Los Angeles Times on Wednesday night that I'll probably retweet from my personal account if you guys want to check it out. But it was it talked about this doctor was quoted as saying testing could lead and trigger what he calls a perverse incentive. Basically, folks who've come in contact with this strain or whatever, the COVID-19 stuff, like if you get it and you beat it, you develop antibodies to it. So they're talking about like from a professional sports level, this wouldn't affect obviously college at all. But like if you're one of those, if you're the third string guy for, if you're the 11th guy on an NBA team, but like you've got the antibodies, it'd be like, well, shoot, you're more valuable than a starter because we know we can count on you. We know that you can you won't get this. You can't transmit it. So yeah, like it's there's all sorts of crazy variables in play when we're dealing with this. But,
so are you saying like the 12th guy on the bench right now should be trying to actively go get it?
Literally, the quote he says here is that if I'm a player and I'm healthy, I might think about that. I might say, what the hell? Let me get infected with coronavirus and I'll be one of the privileged few.
Like Dwayne Bacon. He's had a tough time.
Carlos Williams. Carlos Williams wants to get back on a roster somewhere. Carlos Williams might be like, let me get this. Let me start licking stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's one way to look at it, for sure.
Hey, man, will you make the ultimate sacrifice to chase your dream, people? Bimini Bound, day 20 of quarantine, log. Bubba Burgers have built up enough grease on the grill to power the neighbors for a week. Sports, they've devolved to throwing fishing weights in the bottom of the pool to see who can get the most, the quickest. Apparently, there is a webinar with Norvell and the Boosters Thursday, April 9th, 2 p.m. From a fan's perspective, what would you ask them? About uniforms, maybe? So Corey Clark, 19-year-old Corey Clark, what would you ask the head football coach of Florida State? Not Bobby Bowden, but Mike Norvell. What do you think, like 19-year-old Corey Clark that wasn't on the payroll, or not the payroll, but, wasn't doing this for a living, would want to ask his head football coach?
I'll be honest with you, man. You asking me that makes me kind of uncomfortable, just in the sense that when I was 19, I mentioned it on the Cannell thing. That, by the way, folks, really go watch that. Not because of anything not because of anything I said, but Cannell was awesome on that thing. He talked with us for about 45 minutes, just about, that was the podcast the other day, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So if you didn't listen to the podcast, listen to it, or go watch the video on YouTube. It's really good. It's crazy that me and Danny Cannell are the same age. One of us is aged a lot worse than the other one.
Right.
He's got those genetics, man. He's 6'4". But I was 19 for the Choke at Doak, and I was 18 for a national championship, and I was 21 when they played the game of the century against Florida and beat them, and then Warwick Dunn got the flu. Like, I couldn't even imagine what 19-year-old Corey Clark would have felt if he had watched his formative years of FSU football had been this. Like, I don't know what I would have asked. Like, back then, I'd be like, hey, are y'all ever going to just beat Miami and Florida both in the same season? Can that happen? Like, I used to get so mad about one loss per season.
Right.
Or they didn't play well against Duke, and they only won by 3 touchdowns.
Can we start
like, I can't imagine how I'd handle 2019, 2018 Florida State in another coaching change. I don't think I would have handled it well. But I don't know. I don't know what I would ask him as a fan. Something dumb, probably. Because there's so many things to ask about. Back then, it would just be like, hey, man, how good does Thad Busby look? Can he be one of the best players in the country or something like that? Who's going to back up Warwick Dunn?
Yeah.
You know, who's going to back up the All-American running back? Or is Sam Coward healthy? Like, really fun questions to ask. Not, hey, can the offensive line not be the worst in the United States? Can it just be 70th or 56th? So I imagine it would have been something offensive line related. Like, basically, why has it been so bad? And I know as a coach,
Even as
you're going to say you weren't here. It's hard to discuss. But after watching film, Coach, why has the offensive line been so bad for 2 years, 3 years?
Have you seen
5
them
years.
play? Next question. That's
Sure.
what I would do, folks, Norvell. Yeah, hey, let me sound like, can I say something callous? I don't think what you said was callous, so let's get our quota met for saying something callous on the show. I think, sadly, so I feel like I'm being hypocritical now because in some ways I'm like telling everybody, hey, tamp down. I miss sports too. It'll come back when it comes back. Deal with it, which is terrible. If this program was not what if we were staring at 18 Letterman returning from an 11-2 season and the threat of the football season not starting on time was prevalent, I'd probably be taking a whole lot more different of a tone. But it's like, man, am I going to have to wait 2 extra months to endure an 8-5 season? Like, I'm just not going to fight that as hard as I would if this was like 2014 Florida State. Right? If it was COVID-14, and I'm like, you're not taking this away from me. Hell no, you're not taking this away from me.
Right.
I want back-to-back titles. But it's like, so I don't have to endure 7-5. It might only be like a 5-3 season. All right. Okay.
Yeah, so imagine being like a Florida State fan and going into the 99 season with this, or the 93 season with this, when you knew you were going to be the number one team in the country and you were stacked. It would be even harder to like the uncertainty of, man, they better not take this season away from us. I better be able to go into Doak and watch these games. Yeah, I got you, man. It probably makes it a little easier. Maybe not for Tamari Terry and Marvin Wilson, but for Florida State fans, it probably makes it a little easier. The thought of at least an altered season.
Well, I'm just thinking, like Alabama and Clemson fans, like the war drums are going to start pounding from those.
Yeah,
fan
but I
bases
don't even
really
think
loud.
those are great examples. Maybe Alabama, because they haven't won it in a couple of years. But they've had so much recent success. I was thinking about a team that was right on the cusp, and I can't think of one right now that was pretty darn good last year. Had a lot of kids coming back, and thought they had a chance to win it all and make history. And now they're worried if there's even going to be a season. Is there a team like that?
It's college football, Corey. What are you talking about? There's 5 teams that can win it all.
No, but maybe there's a team that's on the come up that has
Minnesota.
a chance that hasn't ever done it before.
Minnesota.
That was going to be top 10 in the country.
Minnesota, we were so close. Everybody tried to seal away our coach, and we got him. He's still here. PJ Fleck, we're rowing the boat. Let's go.
Yeah, because okay, Ohio State fans and Alabama fans and Clemson fans. Yeah, it's a bummer. Well, whenever college football season starts again, or college football starts again, you're going to have a really good team and you're going to have a chance to win it all. Now, I guess you'd be a little bummed that Trevor Lawrence's last season didn't happen if that was the case. But again, you got a 5-star super duper kid that has a better arm than him behind him. So you'll be all right. That's why I was trying to think of a team that maybe had a superstar quarterback, but my mind's not working right now. I can't think of one that would have, like Georgia. But because Georgia hasn't won a national championship in, hey, folks, 40 years. I know when you talk to Georgia fans, they act like they invented football and they've been dominating the sport forever. You just remind them they have not won a national championship in 40 years. But maybe if they had some super duper quarterback coming in and they were stacked and this was going to be their year. It's not, but if it was, they would be really bummed about this season being altered or canceled.
Hey, actually, I matched with a young lady who actually played volleyball at Georgia.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see what creative ways I can come up with.
By the way, what's the deal with the volleyball shorts?
I mean, that almost sounded critical.
I mean,
Not
if I was a dad, and there's dads listening to this whose daughters play volleyball, why do basketball players don't wear shorts like that? Why do the men's volleyball players don't wear shorts like that? I don't think. I hope not. Good grief. But why do women have to? Why do the women's volleyball players who create what man in the 60s said, "Hey, this is the uniform. Shorts that barely cover anything, and they have to be skin tight, and you can't wear a shirt that covers that. You have to tuck in your shirt." Like, what man created that outfit? Like, they can't just wear baggy, normal gym shorts.
I haven't left my house in like 30 days, Corey. Do you want to steal all the joy away that I have left in my life?
That's cool. That you met. Was she tall? I assume she was tall.
I haven't met her. I matched with her.
Oh, that's right. You just matched with her. Sorry, you can't meet people these days.
Well, we'll see about that. Mad AMCZ. Wake up! What FSU athlete can claim that at a point in time they were the best professional athlete in their sport? Dion, Brooks Koepka, D. Brooks, Buster Posey. Who am I missing? Thanks for keeping the Renegade Express going, along with Howard Stern from his basement. It's the highlight of my week. Baba booey to y'all. Well, thanks there.
I can't remember if Cowens won an MVP. Dave Cowens, I think he did.
He did.
I know he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So maybe Cowens, Dave Cowens. It's hard with football because would you have ever said Dion was the best player in the world?
No.
He was the best at his position.
Right.
But I don't know that you'd say he was better than Jerry Rice or Emmitt Smith at what they did.
1973.
Derek Brooks was the best linebacker in the world, but I don't know that you'd say he was the best football player in the world. Maybe you would. He was incredible there he played the Falcons twice a year, and it was not fun to be a Falcons fan against that defense. He was awesome, but I don't know that you'd ever say he was the best football player in the world. Koepka,
well,
right?
Hey, like Julio Jones is like had to run there. He's the most freakish guy, but I don't think he would say Julio Jones is the best. It's always going to be like a quarterback would probably be called the best player, I think, right? And by virtue of that, no, Florida State doesn't have that.
Yeah, Cowens was the NBA MVP in 1973. Yeah. So yeah, I'd say you say Cowens for sure, at least for that 1 year. He was the best basketball player in the world, as voted on by whoever votes on that stuff in the NBA, writers, I guess. Brooks Koepka was definitely the best golfer in the world until he got injured. Hopefully he'll get to play again and everything will be back to normal. And then, yeah, I would just with the other guys, Buster. I guess you'd say Buster. He won an MVP.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So those three for sure. I'm trying to think of any track folks, and I don't know that.
But no, I mean, Walter Dix wasn't. No one won gold medals in the Olympics. I don't think.
No,
and if they did,
Walter
it wasn't
won a bronze.
like you can win a bunch of gold medals in the Olympics, but no one would say you're probably better than Usain Bolt because like being the fastest man in the world has got like that extra oomph. So yeah, you could have won the gold in pole vault, but yeah, you would say you're the best pole vaulter in the world. You probably wouldn't be called the best track athlete or field athlete in the world.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Florida State like track or swimming history to know if they've had any of those athletes win gold at the Olympics or win gold at a world championship. If they have, then yeah, they've earned that right to be called the best in the world at that sport.
Is it
so
though?
No,
I
don't know. I'm sure there might be one that we're forgetting.
But isn't it to your point about like Dion's the best cornerback, but he wasn't probably the best overall football player in the world at the time? Like, yeah, you can win the gold medal in the 400 IM medley or whatever, but like, are you better than Michael Phelps? Probably not.
Yeah, I guess you're just better at that event.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, I don't know how many universities can pull a list of like, we've had 10 guys, 10 men and women that were the absolute best at their professional sport. So, I mean, especially for the limited history the Florida State has to have, at least 3 guys. That's impressive, I think. Who are the Gators going to say they had?
Ryan Lochte.
Yeah.
The pride of Gainesville.
Pride of Alachua County. Alachua.
Oh my gosh. The dumbest that stuff with the robbery. I forgot all about that. A Florida writer, did you see the College Jeopardy when Florida and Florida State squared off in College Jeopardy?
I thought it was somebody from Yale waxed everybody.
Yeah, Yale waxed both of them. But at one point near the end, the Florida State girl was like minus 600. The Florida girl was 9,000. The Yale guy was like 15,000. And one of the Florida beat writers grabbed a screenshot of that and tweeted about it. Like, no comment here. And it was just a picture of the Florida State girl with -600, the Florida girl with 10,000, and the Yale kid with 14,000. Just taking a goofy, fun shot at Florida State.
Right.
And I almost retweeted it with a picture of Ryan Lochte. No comment necessary, or something like that. But then I'm like, I don't need to take a shot at Ryan Lochte. But that's what I was thinking. So yeah, Ryan Lochte, I guess he won some golds. I think they have a triple jumper that won golds too.
Cool.
And Danny Werfel.
Matt MCZ also piggybacked this idea that people wanted some sort of live wake-up Warchant, like where we're drinking and talking about it. We might have that. I'm working on the technical aspect of it all. It's not as easy as everyone thinks it is. I know it's my job to figure these things out, but it's a lot. I actually meant to send you the email that I got back from tech support, Corey, just so you guys could see what I have to deal with. It's just hurts the head to read all this.
I'm sure, buddy. I'm sure. Glad it's you and not me.
Drill Sergeant Porter, wake up, guys. I have a question, Aslan. I live in Ohio, but my daughter lives with her mom in Lakeland. My wife and I are considering relocating to Tampa since my employer has a presence there at MacDill Air Force Base. That's right. We're like low key, like if we did a bracket of 64 cities, like who's the most patriotic, I don't know if Tampa would be a 1 seed, but we'd be like a sneaky 2-3 seed, like Leonard Hamilton and the guys. We've got MacDill, then we've got a Veterans Expressway that intersects with an Eisenhower Boulevard, and we got something else. Like, there's a lot of homage to the armed forces in Tampa. Anyways, I was hoping you could give me some insight into living in Tampa. People at Drill Sergeant Porter on Warchant, let him know what you think. I'd say I'm from Tampa. It's kind of like I don't want to throw Corey shade. Well, Corey's from suburban Atlanta. But then, Corey, you have a good feel for downtown Atlanta, like Atlanta proper, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was Jimmy Carter Boulevard, so I was 14 miles away from downtown Atlanta.
Okay. I would say I know that if I got like a job transfer, if Gene was like, we want you to go to Tampa and, I don't know, launch some sort of, recruiting thing or whatever, I don't know. I would probably live in West Chase. West Chase is very, very, very suburbanized. It's quite new, really good schools. It's a little kind of like if they had a Real Housewives of Hillsborough County, it probably would be filmed in West Chase. Also, West Shore area, but that's really ritzy. I don't know what kind of budget you're working with. I couldn't afford to live in either of those places. Seminole Heights is where a lot of cool people live now, but I think it's maybe like a younger crowd, maybe not a budding family. But yeah, folks, if you're listening to this and you've got recommendations for the Tampa area, let Drill Sergeant Porter know. Yeah, basically, if you stay away from like the east side of Tampa, I think you're fine. Like West Chase, uber safe, really good schools, no crime, or very, very low crime. Temple Terrace is also a good area. And, look at Eastlake. Look at Pinellas County. Open up your mind. You won't be disappointed.
Anything on Dale Mabry, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Null Fan 82.
Hey, I'm going to ask you, Aslan. There's people that listen to this show that also listen to headlines that know the answer.
Okay.
But I want to know if you know the answer. Do you know who Dale Mabry was?
I do not. I remember because you guys talk about Tampa on the show, and you'd always, sully the town with bringing up Dale Mabry. Was he a police officer or a pilot or I don't know. Actually, I don't know at all.
He was a blimp pilot.
Okay.
I guess he worked for the Air Force. I'll go back and look up his Wikipedia in a second. But he crashed into power lines and killed a bunch of people that were in the blimp.
You make it sound like he did it on purpose.
No, I don't think he did it on purpose. He accidentally hit power lines, and a bunch of people blew up in his blimp. And that's who y'all decided to name the big thoroughfare in Tampa after.
Well, I don't know, man. I wasn't on the committee for that. It's before my time. Null Fan 82, wake up. Your opinion. Best uniform look on campus, regardless of sport or gender, either home or road. I would go all white baseball uni, garnet socks, nice clean look. I probably am. Yeah. I think baseball overall has the best uniforms. I'm not a Sunday gold guy. I think the all whites. I like the whites. I like the garnet top. I like garnet top, white bottom when it comes to baseball. And then number 2, I probably would put white tops, garnet pants, football. 1A, 1B kind of. That's the thing. Nothing about the basketball uniforms get me excited. No offense, just nothing about it gets me all that excited. Baseball and football's uniforms are what make your guy get all gaga, I guess.
So Captain Mabry died piloting the Army airship Roma, a dirigible he was testing, when it crashed in Norfolk, Virginia on February 21st, 1922. The event marked the greatest disaster in American aeronautics up to that time, resulting in 34 deaths. He was buried in Arlington National Cemetery. He's actually a native of Tallahassee.
Look at
and
that.
He's the son of a former Florida Supreme Court justice.
You said that. I think, there's like a Mabry airfield or something around here. There's something Mabry related in the outer portions of Tallahassee, which, by the way...
He did serve in World War I as an aviator. I guess he was a pilot in World War I. So he served our country. It's just that's how he died. That's awful. Awful. And it was constructed, the road was constructed initially to just connect MacDill Field and MacDill Air Force Base, and then through Drew Field Municipal Airport, now Tampa International Airport. And then it became a huge highway. I don't know that they thought that the Dale Mabry Road was going to end up being the road in Tampa.
Kind of like
But
Tallahassee.
anyway, as for the uniforms, the Florida State ones from Work Dunn's days. Those are my favorite uniforms, and it's an awesome color combination. The helmet is great. Get back to that.
How come you didn't respond to the text message I sent with the photos of everybody from Tiger King based on where they would live if they were from the Big Bend?
Because I'd seen it before a few days earlier, and I thought it was really funny.
Okay.
But then I was also thinking, well, Ira doesn't know. Ira doesn't watch Tiger King, does he?
Oh, okay.
Because there was a group text with Ira, and so I was going to text, Ira doesn't know what you're talking about. But then I thought, though, I make fun of his pop culture knowledge all the time. I didn't want to take a shot at him. But it was right on.
But also, to your point, Tampa not realizing that Dale Mabry is going to be the main thoroughfare, probably kind of like Tallahassee with Tennessee Street. So here we are.
Yeah, true.
Maxwell Gibbs, wake up, boys, or just for you, Corey, Nuck, if you buck. All caps, periods between each word. Not much has changed here in New York City except that the weather is getting nicer. But this Sunday, my wife and I will be celebrating our 1-year wedding anniversary. Man, it's
where
crazy.
did the time go, Maxwell? Yeah. Where did the time go?
It's crazy how a year flies by, but it's been upsetting knowing that we won't get to go to Easter Mass at St. Patrick's that morning, followed by a brunch on Tavern on the Green. We had a reception there. It would have been really special. Anywho, I can't stand it when Corey gets negative, so I'll stop while I'm ahead. Speaking of Corey, can your boy Gibby get your thoughts on the Falcons' new uniforms? Personally, I think they're straight fire, especially the all black and the all white. They're hideous.
Yeah, I thought they looked a little goofy, but I'm not the best person to ask about that stuff. I'd like them to go back to what they were in my childhood. I didn't see anything wrong with just the red.
Yeah, you're right. Right.
Or even the early '90s, the Dion, Jeff George, June Jones black. I like those too. Andre Rison. I like those uniforms a lot. This stuff is just, I don't know. I think they all start to look like arena uniforms to me. All of them.
Or any given
Didn't
Sunday.
Tampa go back to their old ones?
Yeah, it's quite ridiculous, but it's a step in the right direction. Yeah, the digital alarm clock number font they had was gross.
Yeah, it was.
I want to see them go back to the creamsicles, but
I do too.
It's never going to happen. All right, back to FSU related stuff. Let me know your thoughts on this idea related to the finances of FSU athletics. Every non-revenue sport for the coming season, coaching staff all take 50% pay cut for just 1 year.
Is that you or is that Maxwell?
It's Maxwell. Sorry. You know, I'm going to start
Yeah, I
putting an
think
effect
though.
on my voice. I'm going to start putting an effect on my voice when I'm reading.
Sorry,
your
no,
question.
yeah, just you said getting back to it. I didn't know if you were saying it as yourself or
He
as
literally
Maxwell. It
said
sounded like Maxwell. I just
he's
wasn't sure.
yeah.
I would just think if I'm a coach, and we talked about this a couple shows ago. Yeah, sure, that would save you. I don't know. That'd probably save you a couple $1,000,000 at least if everybody took a fit. You're talking about people that are making, 280 or making 140, and you multiply that by I don't know how many coaches are on campus, including assistants, but 50 in the non-revenue sports. I mean, 60. So yeah, you're probably making a couple $1,000,000, but then why not do that to the professors too? Like, no, I mean, I'm just saying, I know you're going to say he's going after the professors again, but it's a money crunch for the entire university, not just the athletic department. I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think the entire university is going to be in a pinch. So if you're going to make cuts across just athletics, I feel like football makes a lot of money for the actual university as well. So I feel like you got to make cuts across almost all departments. Coburn takes a 50% pay cut. Thrasher takes a 50% pay cut. The dean of libraries takes a 50% pay cut.
Corey waging his war against librarians, everybody. If you've got a problem.
I think because that's what Shanna is. So I don't know if there's something subconscious going on there.
Yes, let's go. All right, let me foster this in you. You're damn right, these librarians. Come on, man. Dewey Decimal System.
Absolutely. That's a great way to make. Librarians are really important. I'm not diminishing that. I was married to one, and I didn't divorce her because she was a librarian. Let me get that out there. Let me make that clear. Actually, I didn't divorce. Anyway, I won't get into that. It wasn't because of libraries. But so I just think with the university, you have to make. If you're trying to save money for the entire university, there are going to be steps that need to be made. I just don't know why you would limit it to, you have thousands of people working at that university. Why just limit it to the coaches? I guess the thinking being that with football maybe not playing or these sports not playing, not getting the NCAA tournament money, it was the athletic department revenue that was hurt so much, and maybe the education revenue hasn't been yet. But I think we're going to see coming up in the summer, especially if it's just online classes to August, which I know Clemson's already announced that. So I'm assuming that will happen soon, where we all know it's just going to be online classes. What does that do to enrollment? And what does that do to the way you pay salaries for your professors and assistant professors? I don't know. But yeah, something's got to change. I just don't know that the $2 million is going to be. You're talking about if everybody takes a 50% pay cut at the non-revenue sports, I think that would probably add up to a couple $1 million, maybe $4 million, $5 million. That's still a relative drop in the bucket. That's still what you're paying a guy not to coach your team, your football team. So I think that would be it's just a Band-Aid.
I'm trying to do research on the fly here, which is obviously not a good idea, because I think the problem is, and there's no way I'm going to be able. Actually, statement of revenue. Yeah, actually, I'm not going to try to do this, but I would imagine, and don't quote me on this, everybody. Why I'm trying to defend our librarians and our professors is that I don't think the university as a whole, on the academic side, is operating at a deficit the way the sports program has for this long.
Yeah.
So
I'm just thinking about it bleeding. If college football gets altered and that money dries up, relatively dries up, what's the impact it has on the university as a whole? And I don't think it'll be minimal. But yeah, it's probably right now, just in the short term for this stretch, you might have to say that. Again, I don't know though, and just playing devil's advocate, because that's what I like to do. I don't know if I'm Sue Simmerow, I'm like, oh, I get to cut my salary, but the guy that's never coached a football game before, he gets to keep making $3.5 million. Like he doesn't cut.
And then last question from Maxwell. Football only facility. I know this would create a ton of backlash from these non-revenue sports, but IMO, in my opinion, it would be smart to, I'm guessing, go ahead and get that built with the millions that have been raised to this point. How many? I mean, what kind of facility with these millions? I mean, The sooner we get that thing built, the sooner football will make this athletic department money, money, and more money. Aslan, let's shotgun some hard seltzers during football season, buddy. I can't. I'm just not equipped to shotgun. I can't funnel beer. I can't shotgun beer. I can't do keg stands. I just I don't have that. I can't open up my gullet like the rest of y'all. Yeah, football only facility, man. Yeah, that thing. Yeah, I don't know about that. Any thoughts on that, Corey? Corey, damn it, where'd you go?
Yeah, I just think, while I don't necessarily disagree that it'll make money for the university in the long run, I don't know that they're necessarily concerned about the long run right now. This landscape is so bizarre and surreal and different. I just don't think, number one, I don't know that you could tell all these coaches to take a 50% pay cut while you pour millions and millions into a football mansion right now at this point. I just don't know that that's feasible. We can argue whether they should or not, but I just don't see that. What we argue about doesn't really make a difference. I don't see them mainly going ahead with that when there's so many other things to take care of. And to that point, Leonard Hamilton has a contract that needs to be renewed, or a new one. And my man is like 57th in the country in pay. He's behind Brad Brownell in salary. So you have to assume there's going to be some sort of bump there as well. So there's a lot of things that need to be taken care of right now before they really start on the football mansion.
Yeah, Corey likes to diminish it by calling it the football mansion. I think it's extremely important, but yeah, it's not getting built anytime soon, I wouldn't think, to the points that Corey just illuminated. Let's read.
Well,
this.
you got Hamilton contract. You've obviously got the pandemic.
Well, yeah,
you're making huge cuts. Yeah. You've also got a coach that you're paying millions of dollars not to coach. There's a lot of expenditures right now and a lot of cost-cutting measures. It's going to be, in my opinion, it'll be really hard for that to foresee that thing like starting up soon.
Yeah, you're right, for sure. I mean, I don't know if I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here. Like, I think it's a very important thing. Like, Florida State desperately needs that eye candy. I mean, they just do. I mean, I don't know how we can diminish it so much. We watch shows about people house hunting, and like, oh, like I don't like the way the kitchen looks. Like, I'm not buying that house. But we think like an 18-year-old kid is not going to come to our campus and factor in that, like, all right, there's not a barbershop here. There's not a 50-seat cinema. There's not free Apple Watches so that they can track my fitness and my nutrition. But, hey, Dion played here in 1986. Let's go. We need it. But, yeah, it's not getting built anytime soon, I would imagine. I think a lot of that money that even has been promised is kind of being even shifted. Like, hey, I know you gave us $1 million to build this thing, but we kind of need to do this instead. Would that be okay? So I think those conversations are happening with donors as well. You want to take a shot back at me after I just took a shot at you, Corey?
No, and when I call it a football mansion, I know that sounds flippant. It is, but I'm not diminishing it. They do need to keep up with the rest of the country. I would say this: Wake Forest could have a Taj Mahal.
They have a really nice one, actually.
Yeah, but they could have something twice as big. They could have the grandest football facility in all the world. They're still not going to recruit with Florida State and Clemson. So the other stuff does matter too. It's not just this. But yeah, I mean, the tradition, the history, the fan base, they're still there. But yeah, they also need that too, because everybody that they're recruiting against has it or is in the process of building it. Again, it's 2020 though, and we're dealing with something we've never really dealt with before as a country. So I guess revisit it in 2021 and see where they are, I guess. Depending on how much this knocks everything back for the next few years. I don't know.
All right, we got 3 more. One of them is quite the soliloquy. We'll save that for Monday, as well as another one that's a really good question, I think, that I could riff on for a while. It's going to maybe potentially be a passion project of mine. I don't want to give it short shrift. Where does that come from, by the way? Short shrift. What's shrift? Am I saying it right? Anyhow, we lost Corey. We're having some technical problems, which is why we're wrapping the show up now, too. We're going to go off on a high note. Running Knoll. And Corey will be able to hear this because I'll text him this afterwards. Wake up! Thanks to you guys and the rest of the Warchant crew for keeping us entertained in this unprecedented time. First of all, major shout out to Corey for his awesome chronicles of our Hoops team winning it all. The game thread for the final was the icing on the cake. I participated in many game threads during the season, and that is one of the perks of Warchant, being able to commiserate and celebrate in real time with your fellow fanatics. I've met some really great people on the game threads. This particular Louisville game thread was so funny but so real. You are amazing, Corey. My feeling on holding sports events with no fans, horrible. Hope it doesn't come to this. I've been watching lots of videos of old games on YouTube, especially enjoying the Road to Omaha from last year. Probably spending about the same amount of time on the boards as I have been. So she's answering the questions I posed at the top of the thread. Anyhow, she loved the recap of the Michigan and Chokadoke games, and she is following Coach Storms on Twitter. Yoga is keeping me sane. You and I both, Aunt Deb. Thanks again, Corey and Aslan. You are the best. No. You folks all are. Again, we appreciate everybody tuning in as often as they can to continue to listen to the show and hopefully patronize our sponsors at Zaxby's. So we'll be back Monday. We got a couple good questions to start things off on. One of them is from Knowles MG4. Basically want to know our true feelings about the 2014 team, which again, I think we might dive for a good 30 minutes talking about it because I think we need to. I think it's a really important part of our history and the healing that we need to do as a fan base. Hopefully we'll continue to heal as a nation, right? Maybe. Who knows? Have a great weekend, everybody. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good!
Some call them lunchtime lifesavers. Others call them the most perfect sandwiches to ever exist. At Zaxby's, we just call them our signature fan favorites. The Southern TLC Filet Sandwich has hand-breaded chicken with fresh tomato and crisp lettuce. The famous Kickin' Chicken Sandwich features spicy tongue torch and Cool Ranch sauces. And for a limited time, fried pickles are back. 2 classic sandwiches and a legendary appetizer. 3 more reasons you're gonna get a kick out of Zaxby's.